Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Self-Esteem Workbook, 2nd edition, by Glenn R. Schiraldi, Ph.D., narrated by Callie, Beaulieu. Publisher's Note: this audiobook refers to diagrams, figures, and appendices included in the print and ebook editions of the book. Worksheet versions of many of the exercises and activities in this book are available for download at newharbinger.com/35937. When we plant a rose seed in the earth, we notice that it is small, but we do not criticize it as rootless and stemless. We treat it as a seed, giving it the water and nourishment required of a seed. When it first shoots up out of the earth, we don't condemn it as immature and underdeveloped, nor do we criticize the buds for not being open when they appear. We stand in wonder at the process taking place and give the plant the care it needs at each stage of its development. The rose is a rose from the time it is a seed to the time it dies. Within it, at all times, it contains its whole potential. It seems to be constantly in the process of change, yet at each state, at each moment, it is whole as it is. Preface to the 2nd edition. Since the 1st edition of the Self-Esteem Workbook appeared in 2001, it has been most gratifying to learn that it has helped so many people feel happier and more whole. Readers have said that they appreciate that the workbook is user-friendly, complete, and concise. Recent research, however, suggests that several important additions and revisions be included in this edition. 1. Chapter 2, Getting Ready, the Physical Preparations, has been revised to reflect our new understanding of brain plasticity and how sleep, exercise, and nutrition greatly influence brain function and mental health. 2. Research demonstrates that genuine, mature love changes us in significant and beneficial ways, physiologically and psychologically. Therefore, I added 6 important chapters to support the 2nd building block of self-esteem, unconditional love. A. Chapter 20 uses art to experience love and elicit emotions in ways that language and logic do not. B. Chapter 21 teaches you how to increase heart coherence. The heart coherence skill will help you experience love at the heart level, which, in turn, profoundly affects mood. This is a powerful complement to cognitive strategies. C. Self-compassion is a powerful antidote to self-criticism and the usual ways we try to confront the inevitable pains of life. 4 chapters, 22, 23, 24, and 25, encourage us to bring kindness rather than harshness to our daily experiences, thus honoring and respecting who we are at the core. 3. Chapter 31, on forgiveness, encourages us to replace anger, which shuts down the heart, with love, so that we can move beyond the past, get back in touch with our loving nature, and be free to grow. 4. Stress is something we all face. Appendix 1 has been expanded to reflect what we've learned in recent years, tying together stress, trauma, grief, and self-esteem. 5. I also revised and expanded the Recommended Resources section to provide more useful aids to building self-esteem. Despite these important changes, the Self-Esteem Workbook retains the reassuring theme that healthy, secure self-esteem is within the reach of everyone, no matter how difficult one's path has been. Wholesome self-esteem is cultivated by practicing skills linked to the 3 building blocks of self-esteem: unconditional human worth, unconditional love, and growth. My sincere hope is that the skills in this workbook will provide uplift and support in your life's journey. Note: worksheet versions of many of the exercises in this book are available for download at newharbinger.com/35937. Introduction. We need to see ourselves as basic miracles. Virginia Satir. Self-esteem is not the only determinant of happiness. Certainly it is one of the most important. The beloved late comedian George Burns observed that most of the things that make people happy, health, marriage, raising a family, self-respect, and so forth, do not fall into our laps. We have to work at them a little. And so it is with self-esteem. Like cultivating a garden, building self-esteem involves consistent effort. The program described in this book takes approximately a half-hour a day, more or less, over a 150-day period. Is this investment worth it? When we consider how great the effect of self-esteem is on mental and physical well-being in both the short and long term, few efforts seem more worthwhile. The program you are about to start is the central component of Stress and the Healthy Mind, a course that I developed and taught at the University of Maryland. The course has been found to raise self-esteem while reducing symptoms of depression, anxiety, and hostility among adults 18 to 68 years of age. Although intended for adults, the principles and skills in this book are equally applicable to adolescents and, when slightly simplified, children. Part 1. Understanding Self-Esteem. Chapter 1. Why self-esteem? How fortunate is the person with self-esteem? There is general agreement that self-esteem is central to good mental and physical health, while self-dislike degrades health and performance. Self-dislike appears to contribute to depression, anxiety, stress and trauma symptoms, psychosomatic illness like headaches, insomnia, fatigue, and digestive tract upset, hostility, excessive or deep-seated anger, dislike and distrust of others and competitiveness, spouse and child abuse, entering into abusive or unhappy relationships, alcohol and drug abuse, eating disorders and unhealthy dieting, poor communication, for example, non-assertive, aggressive, defensive, critical, or sarcastic styles, promiscuity, dependency, sensitivity to criticism, tendency to put on a false front to impress others, social difficulties such as withdrawal and loneliness, poor performance, preoccupation with problems, status concern, criminality. It's no wonder self-dislike is called the invisible handicap. Conversely, self-esteem is highly correlated to overall life satisfaction and happiness around the world. In a 1992 Gallup survey, 89% of respondents said that self-esteem is very important in motivating a person to work hard and succeed. Self-esteem was ranked higher as a motivator than any other variable. It is not surprising, therefore, that those with self-esteem are more likely to engage in healthy behaviors. Those with self-esteem tend to be friendlier, more expressive, more active, more self-trusting and trusting of others, and less troubled by inner problems and criticism. When mental disorders do strike, those with self-esteem tend to respond better to professional help, and recovering alcoholics with self-esteem are less likely to relapse. Indeed, one searches the literature in vain to find a disadvantage of having healthy, secure self-esteem. Thus, an assumption of this book is that self-esteem not only helps reduce undesired stress and illness symptoms, but also is an essential foundation for human growth. Despite the importance of self-esteem, the psychotherapeutic community has focused surprisingly little attention on building it directly rather than indirectly. For example, an oft-stated aim of psychotherapy is to build self-esteem. However, the assumption that reducing illness symptoms will indirectly build self-esteem is generally unsupported. Lacking a comprehensive approach, some well-intending individuals have prescribed quick fixes based on unsound principles, which can actually damage self-esteem in the long run. This book provides a step-by-step plan based on sound principles to help you build a healthy, realistic, and generally stable self-esteem. The approach requires that the skills herein be applied and practiced. Merely having knowledge is not enough. Each self-esteem skill is based on mastery of the skills that precede it. As Abraham Maslow noted, developing self-esteem requires many and major impacts. Therefore, resist the tendency to go through this book quickly. Instead, commit now to applying and mastering each skill before moving on to try the next one. To begin, the following checkup will provide you with a starting point from which to measure your progress with building self-esteem as you go through this book. Taking the checkup will also begin the process of reinforcing some of the goals of this book. It is comforting to realize that each person already possesses some measure of self-esteem to build on. There is nothing tricky about this checkup, nor is it important how your scores compare with the scores of others. So just relax and be as completely honest as you can. The self-esteem checkup. First, rate from 0 to 10 how much you believe each of the following statements. 0 means you completely disbelieve it, whereas 10 means you think it is completely true. Statement 1. I am a worthwhile person. Rating 2. I am as valuable a person as anyone else. 3. I have the qualities I need to live well. 4. When I look into my eyes in the mirror, I have a pleasant feeling. 5. I don't feel like an overall failure. 6. I can laugh at myself. 7. I am happy to be me. 8. I like myself, even when others reject me. 9. I love and support myself, regardless of what happens. 10. I am generally satisfied with the way I am developing as a person. 11. I respect myself. 12. I'd rather be me than someone else. Now total your score. Next, rate your self-esteem on the following scales. 0, total lack of self-esteem, to 100, total fullness of self-esteem. Your response? How often do you feel restricted in your daily activities because of difficulties with self-esteem? 1, always. 2, often. 3, sometimes. 4, rarely, 5, never. Your response? How serious is your problem with self-esteem? 1, no problem. 2, mild problem. 3, moderate problem. 4, severe problem. 5, extremely severe. 6, totally incapacitating. Your response. Chapter 2. Getting Ready. The Physical Preparations. The mind and body are connected. If you want to feel your best mentally, take good care of your body, which includes your brain. This only stands to reason. So often, people who feel stressed, fatigued, and mentally down are underexercised, undernourished, and underrested. Often, they assume that tending to the body takes too much time or is too difficult, so they hope for a quick fix that allows them to ignore their basic physical needs, while their mental health and performance suffer. The point is important enough to restate: you can't ignore your body and expect to feel good. Time invested in physical health is a wise investment indeed. It saves time by sharpening your performance. More importantly, it improves your mood. Your mood, in turn, will influence how you experience yourself. The object of this chapter is to help you set up and execute a simple written plan for optimal physical health in 3 areas: regular exercise, sleep, and eating practices. Brain plasticity. Stress and aging tend to damage, shrink, or impair brain cells, neurons, particularly in areas of the brain responsible for thinking and regulating emotions. Fortunately, the harmful effects of stress and aging can be minimized and even reversed through healthy eating, exercise, and sleep. We have learned that what improves the health of the heart and physical health generally also improves brain health, mood, and brain function. The steps in this chapter work together to optimize the brain by increasing blood flow to the brain, flushing toxins from the brain, strengthening and regrowing neurons, the connections between neurons and supportive tissues, decreasing inflammation and oxidative stress within neurons, strengthening the blood-brain barrier, which prevents toxins and molecules that cause inflammation from entering the brain, and promoting body leanness, which favors brain health. Think of the brain as a computer. We might have powerful software, which is like the self-esteem strategies we'll explore later, but if the brain's hardware, the health and functioning of the neurons, is sluggish, the computer won't function optimally. So this chapter will help us strengthen brain hardware, while also improving physical health and mood generally. Regular exercise. Exercise improves self-esteem and mental health overall. It also improves sleep, increases energy, helps to regulate stress, and promotes leanness. The goal is at least 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, rhythmic, continuous exercise such as brisk walking, biking, swimming, stair climbing, and jogging, all or most days. Strength, resistance training, and flexibility training confer additional benefits. If time permits, add these to your program. If you can't, or if adding these appears overwhelming, then be content with aerobic exercise. Any amount of exercise is better than none. Even a 10-minute energy walk, a break from sitting at the desk, has been found to increase energy and lift the mood. Start exercising gently and build up very gradually. You are not in a competition with anyone. Exercise should leave you feeling refreshed and energized. It should not hurt or exhaust you beyond a pleasant fatigue. If you can eventually work up to 30 minutes or more of aerobic exercise on most days, great. If not, do what you can to start. Do make a plan for regular exercise. If you have trouble falling asleep, try exercising before dinner or earlier. Early morning exercise helps to regulate sleep rhythms. Exercising in the sunlight also helps the body produce vitamin D, which improves brain function in many ways. Consult your physician if you are over 40 years old, if you have any known risk factors for cardiovascular disease, or if you have any concerns about starting an exercise program. Sleep hygiene. Many studies have associated poor sleep with unhappiness. Fortunately, researchers in recent years have identified many ways to improve sleep. 3 considerations for sleep are crucial: amount, regularity, and quality. An appropriate amount of sleep. Most adults require at least 7.5 hours of sleep each night. Adults who average near that amount, but then get an additional hour to an hour and a half of sleep per night, typically feel better and perform better. However, today's lifestyle nibbles away at our sleep time to the point that many adults are chronically sleep deprived. As little as 20 to 30 minutes of additional sleep a night can significantly improve mood and performance. Many sleep researchers recommend that most people get at least 8 hours of sleep per night. Regularity of sleep. Regular sleep and wake-up times are needed to keep the body's sleep cycle consistent. Retiring at irregular hours, for example, getting to bed much later on Friday and Saturday nights than on the weekdays, can lead to exhaustion and insomnia. So the idea behind good sleep hygiene is to get a little more sleep than you think you need, and to keep sleep and wake-up times as consistent as possible throughout the week, varying no more than 1 hour from night to night, even on weekends. Sleep quality. Make the bedroom a peaceful place for sleeping. Keep phones, computers, televisions, bills, work, and arousing reading out of the bedroom. Turn off lights and light-emitting electronic devices at least an hour before retiring. The blue light from electronic devices is particularly disruptive to sleep. Make sure that early morning sunlight does not enter through windows. Eliminate noise or obscure it with white noise, for example, a fan or nature sounds. Avoid having meals within 4 hours of retiring. Reduce or avoid stimulants like caffeine and nicotine for at least 7 hours before bedtime. Alcohol hastens sleep, but it later acts as a stimulant that fragments sleep, so avoid alcohol in the hours before bedtime. Talk to your doctor if snoring or sleep apnea is preventing a good night's sleep. Eating practices. Numerous studies indicate that Mediterranean-style eating practices, as captured by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services 2015 to 2020 Dietary Guidelines for Americans, benefit the brain. Such practices are rich in brain-protecting antioxidants, minerals, and vitamins. These eating practices are high in fish and plant foods, vegetables, fruits, seeds, nuts, whole grains, herbs, beans, peas, lentils, olive or canola oil, and low in animal or saturated fats, for example, red and processed meats, high-fat dairy products, refined grains, sugar-sweetened food and drinks, and processed and fast foods, which typically contain sugar, salt, refined flour, preservatives, and unhealthy fats, all of which are to be minimized. Brain-friendly eating practices follow these guidelines. Consume most of your calories from plant foods. Fresh, frozen, and minimally processed plant foods are usually best, since they tend to have less added sugar, salt, and fat and contain more fiber. Minimize meat, especially red and processed meats, for example, corned beef, bacon, ham, salami, hot dogs. Reduce the size of meat servings and choose, whenever possible, lean meats, such as poultry without the skin. Instead of meat, each week have several servings of seafood or meat alternatives, such as beans, peas, lentils, nuts, or seeds. Think of your plate filled mostly with plant foods, with meat as a side dish, and you'll get a good idea of these first two guidelines. Keep blood sugar steady throughout the day by eating a good breakfast and not skipping meals. Have a high-quality protein source, for example, eggs or yogurt, at breakfast, and distribute protein equally among meals. Concentrated sweets cause blood sugar to fluctuate, so minimize sugar-sweetened sodas, cookies, and the like. Stay hydrated. Drink plenty of liquids throughout the day, because even slight dehydration can impair mood and functioning. Depending on weight, activity, and ambient conditions, you might need up to 13 cups of liquid or more to maintain optimal brain function and mood. Check the water at the bottom of the toilet bowl after urinating. Urine that is clear or pale yellow indicates adequate fluid intake. Drinking 2 glasses of water before meals has also been found to promote weight loss. Avoid excesses of any drug. Brain imaging shows that any drug in excess, including caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, and so-called recreational drugs, can adversely affect brain function years before structural changes are apparent. These substances can also impair sleep. Take care of your body. A written plan. There is power in making a written plan and committing to stick to it. Please make a plan that you can follow and begin to practice it for the next 14 days. You'll actually stay with this plan throughout the entire course of this book and beyond, so make a realistic plan that you can comfortably keep. It is perfectly all right to give yourself several days to work up to the goals in your plan. 1. Exercise 30 to 90 minutes all or most days of the week, striving for at least 30 minutes of aerobic exercise daily. 2. Sleep blank hours, a little more than you think you need each night, from blank, time you'll retire, to blank, time you'll wake up. 3. Eat at least 3 times a day using healthy choices. Make a written week's menu using the Sample Menu, a Week of Meals worksheet, and check it against the guidelines that follow. Dietary Guidelines. These dietary guidelines, which are appropriate for most people 19 years and older, will help ensure that your sample weekly menu provides the nutrients you need to feel and function at your best. After reviewing them, make a sample weekly menu. Then check to see how well your sample menu meets the guidelines. 1. Does your plan provide the needed servings from each food group as indicated here? Someone trying to control weight would use the smaller figure for servings. Food group. Fruits. How much is needed each day? 1.5 to 2 cups. What counts as 1 cup? In general, 1 cup of fruit or 100%.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?